Mr. Chairman, you are live.
Meeting to order, and please call roll.
Roll call for February 12, 2026. Representative Brown.
Here.
Representative Campbell.
Here. Thank you.
Representative Lean.
Here.
Representative Lucas. Representative Riggins.
Here.
Representative Storer.
Excused, sorry.
Representative Stiver.
Present.
Representative Wharf. And Chairman Locke.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Very good. Thank you so much. I want to welcome everybody to the meeting this morning. I'll hit it real quick. Just ask everybody to stay in decorum. Everything through the committee chair. No throwing stones or bottles. I think that probably a little bit more concise than that, but I know everybody in this room will take care of the other folks in this room. So I thank you for all of that. I did want to let everyone know we've got a pretty tight schedule, so we're going to keep it close. We're probably going to give people, we'll probably start out with kind of capping some of the testimony at 3 minutes. We'll adjust as we have time, but we have a pretty tight schedule. So I just ask everybody to be concise, on point, and keep it moving. And but we will be timing and keeping it tight. So I do apologize for that, but we want to keep the bills moving and give enough people an opportunity to speak. But again, thank you for coming. I really do appreciate you all being involved in this process. Thank you so much. And that being said, I think we'll go ahead and kick this off just to give you everyone a quick summary. So today in the meeting, we're going to review House Bill 98, Prohibited Red Flag Gun Seizure Act Penalty Amendments. That will be first. Second will be House Bill 75, Virtual Currency Kiosk. And third will be House Bill 41, WHP DCI Ed Warden Retirement Benefits Amendments. And we're going to work very hard to get all three of those through today. We do have HB 101 as kind of if we can get through it, but we'll see how we do. So, all right, let's get moving. Anything I've missed on the list? We okay? All right, let's go ahead and kick off House Bill 98. Thank you, Representative Harrelson. Thank you so much for being here. I guess I should have called you by your other title, but thank you so much for being here before us today and presenting the bill, and fire away, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Locke and committee. I appreciate you guys being here this morning and having an opportunity to share with you House Bill 98. So this is the Prohibited Red Flag Gun Seizure Act Penalty Amendments. So if you go into statute into 9-14-303, it's actually 302 and 303, you're going to find that we have a civil penalty in statute currently. What this bill does is it adds a civil penalty conversation. And so the bulk of this would be a new subsection, subsection D, which states any person who knowingly violates any provision of this act is guilty of a misdemeanor punishable for not more than 1 year, a fine of not more than $2,000 or both. And it's effective July 1st, 2026. So this would be giving us a civil penalty and a criminal penalty in our anti-red gun seizure legislation. And so this is really, that's the one context that this bill is just putting into it, a criminal penalty that would align with some of the other gun legislation that we've done and we are running. So with that, I'd stand for questions and we'll go from there.
Very good. Any questions for Representative Harrelson? Oh, Representative Riggins, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Harrelson. I haven't read the whole act, so I'm going to ask a very simple question. What if they don't know they violated it?
Representative Harrelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just to clarify, you're saying if law enforcement or someone in a governmental realm doesn't know they violated, is that what the question you're asking? Yes. Okay. I believe that at the end of the day, there's two aspects to this. If the civil path is taken, then it goes into a court of law where they are going to then have to defend their actions. And those that bring the suit has to defend their action or their case of saying, hey, this was very blatantly a seizure. Now, the other side of that would be the simple fact that if it were to go into a criminal, it's the same concept. We would have to have a prosecutor that would say that was egregious and that needs to be taken care of. One thing I think that I want to put on record, law enforcement in the state of Wyoming is excellent. I have nothing against law enforcement at all in the state of Wyoming. I have law enforcement in my family. I back them 110% and want to work at any cost with them. But there's always that position or place where if there were to be a bad actor, because at the end of the day, there are bad actors that happen. If there were to be a bad actor, we want the mechanisms in place to take care of that. And so is it a situation where accidentally something may happen? If something were to accidentally happen, someone were to cross a line without having knowledge that what they're doing is contrary to the law, that would work out in the court systems, either on a civil or criminal level. And I believe that we would find that to be, and that goes back to our court systems being fair to not only the citizen and their Second Amendment rights, but also to law enforcement and their actions.
Yes, Representative Riggins,
Thank you,
please.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Representative. So could this occur following a criminal adjudication, or could this be separately just a civil case only, in a sense, to find a remedy? I mean, I would imagine that this would be a follow-up following a criminal conviction, but I don't know, am I wrong? Or could this simply be, this whole thing would be a civil suit from the very beginning?
Please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and Representative Riggins. So I believe that the concept of having the civil case as well as the criminal, why both is what I'm hearing you asking. So in the situation where a action hasn't been taken in a criminal case, if this were to pass, if it has not been taken in a criminal, there's a civil avenue that individual can walk down. At the end of the day, though, if we were to see a line crossed, there's also the opportunity for prosecution to come and for there to be action taken. And so it's a situation. Could you have both? Feasibly, you could, but I believe if we're really looking at the context of this, what we're looking at is the fact that if there were to be no criminal case taken, they have the civil avenue. If there's a no civil avenue has to be taken if a criminal avenue is taken. But at the end of the day, if someone's rights, constitutional rights, are infringed upon, they have the right to have that made right. And so it could be on either level. But this double mechanism concept would give the opportunity, if something is seen that is egregious, that there could be that criminal action taken.
Representative Riggins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Representative. So let's suppose that, let's say there was a criminal violation and it was conviction. Now they go to the civil case of this, if they wanted to pursue that angle. Would the organization or institution or agency for that person who worked for, would they be responsible for the civil part, or because there is a criminal conviction, only that person would be responsible for the civil remedy?
Representative Harrelson.
Mr. Chairman, so if you go into the 9-14, and I closed it and I apologize that I closed it. Let me snag it real quick. 9-14-303, if you grab that and pull it up on the civil side, any agency of the state, political subdivision, or law enforcement agency that employs a public officer or peace officer as defined in Wyoming Statute 72101, who knowingly violates any provision of this act and enforces a red flag gun seizure against any resident of the state of Wyoming while acting within the scope of their employment shall be liable to the injured party for damages resulting from the public officers or peace officers' conduct in a civil action before the district court in which the county, the red flag seizure was enforced. The court, upon finding a violation of exceeding $50,000 per violation, may order any injunction or other equitable relief as permitted by law. And from my remembrance when this was passed, because this would have been a couple of years ago, that's actually going to be covered by the department. That civil side would be a department conversation. Obviously, the criminal would be individual.
Representative Riggins, let's move it along.
I must
please.
be missing. I
Be
must
my
be
last
missing that for
question.
you guys.
Not sure we're gonna have this out in
Yeah.
court here today, so.
I just
please
want
keep
to,
the
my last
questions
question
up.
would be this. Has this been applied in a case so far since it's passed? Do you recall? Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, no, it is not.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Speaker Pro Tem? Thank you so much. All right. Anyone else who would like to speak on this bill, please?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Revenue Committee. My name is Brian Gosh. I'm a lawyer and registered lobbyist with the National Rifle Association here in support of House Bill 98 today. Appreciate Representative Harrelson bringing this bill and recognizing that the red flag type statutes and efforts are just a gun grabbing type statute. You know, they purport to keep people safe. They purport to recognize people who may be a danger to themselves or others. But we've already got Title 25 in the Wyoming Code for that particular purpose. If they truly believe someone's a danger to themselves or other, there's involuntary commitment hearings that can occur, and that removes the person from all potential dangerous objects and then gets them mental health treatment and evaluation. These red flag statutes go way beyond that, and they just target firearms. They just go after someone's guns. And I'd like to address Representative Riggins' question just a little bit about if they don't know, if you look at the bill, page 1, line 14, part of the mens rea requisite for this particular criminal violation would be that they do know. It does say that they have to knowingly violate that statute. And so putting some extra teeth in this will just make sure that they continue to be in compliance with this statute and not engage in enforcement of red flag laws. And then look to other existing statutes. If you're truly interested in keeping that person safe for themselves or other people, I really do think you use Title 25 and you go through those holds, the reviews, the involuntary commitments, and then the separation of that person from all ways that they could hurt themselves or others, whether it's vehicles or ropes or knives or explosives or, driving off a cliff or whatever, and then get them the mental health treatment. So appreciate your time, and I would stand by for questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Kosh? All right, you sure? Representative Riggins? No, I'm just kidding. Thank you so much for being here, sir. I really do appreciate it. And anybody who does want to speak, fill the chairs and we'll just keep the machine going. Good morning. How are you doing?
Morning, Mr. Chairman and committee. My name's Mark Jones. I'm a director with the Gun Owners of America, live in Johnson County. I've actually worked on this bill or versions of it with legislators for a number of years now. There were several years this did not make introduction. And there's an important nuance of this bill that really hasn't been disclosed this morning. We already have a civil process in Wyoming statutes for a citizen to go to court, to civil court, if they are red flagged. We already have a criminal statute, which hasn't been mentioned today, 9-14-203, which makes it a crime for state and local officials to participate in unconstitutional federal gun control. All that House Bill 98 does is pulls that over into the red flag statute also. Now, if I was a prosecutor as a constitutionalist, which I am, and someone red flags someone in Wyoming, I would already prosecute them under 9-14-203. However, we can't count on every prosecutor in the state being a constitutionalist. So this is designed to clean everything up and tie everything together and make it very crystal clear that red flagging someone is both a criminal violation, which I would say it already is in statute, but this will make it very clear that red flagging someone is both a criminal and a civil violation. And to answer some of Representative Riggins' questions, the prosecutors have to bring the criminal charges. The citizens can bring the civil lawsuits. They're two entirely different processes. The civil lawsuits are brought against the department, not against the individual officer. So this is just adding things and cleaning things up, making everything clear. I think it's good for prosecutors. So they will fully understand what is and isn't Wyoming law. And I think it's also good for our citizens. Everybody in Wyoming, almost everybody, claims to be pro Second Amendment. Most everybody in Wyoming says we don't want to see red flags happen here. So this is a good bill across the board. We are happy to support it, and I would stand for any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Jones? You're getting off easy, Mr. Jones. So it's good to have you here, though. I haven't seen you in a bit. It's good to see you.
Good to see you, Chairman. Thank you, and thank you, committee.
Thank you so much. All right, please proceed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Just for the record, Mark Moody, Cheyenne City Council. I'm speaking on behalf of myself and no lobbying organization. I support this 100%. I know some on the committee, we share the same constituents. They wanted to see this stronger, have the criminal penalty in there. And just for the record, to say to the south of us, they're actually trying to expand red flags so we can show that we have the strongest anti-red flag law in the United States of America. And I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for Mr. Moody? All right.
Thank you.
All right. You're getting off easy, you guys. So that's anybody else in the room who would like to speak on this bill? Public comment. We better open up to public comment. I think I failed to use the term public comment the other day, but we're going to make sure we do that today. So please, anybody who would like to speak, step forward, jump in the chair there, and we're good to go. Anybody online on this bill?
Mr. Chairman, we have 3 people online, 2 of which are for the second bill and the other individual is for the 4th bill. So nobody for this bill.
Nobody for this bill. Okay, very good. Well, I guess I should have paid attention to your list. Very good. All right. That being said, we're gonna end in public comment, and the bill has been moved and seconded, and I believe I heard Representative Lean move and Representative Brown seconded the bill. All right, committee, let's work the bill. Any amendments? And it's short enough that we're not going to go page by page. So we're going to make this simple. Any amendments to the bill? Seeing none, let's call roll on the bill.
This is a roll call vote for House Bill 98. Representative Brown,
Aye.
Representative Campbell,
Aye.
Representative Lean,
Aye.
Representative Lucas,
Aye.
Representative Riggins,
Aye.
Representative Storer,
Excused.
Vice Chair Stiver,
Aye.
Representative Worf,
Aye.
Chairman Locke.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, that is 8 ayes, 1 excused.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Speaker Pro Tem, for being here and presenting the bill. And thank you all who stayed and testified. Appreciate that. And we will move on to the second bill, House Bill 75, virtual currency kiosks. And Representative Clouston, thank you so much for being here. This is, I know, important topic. And did you read through this and make sure I didn't miss anything from Liz that was important? Sorry about that, brother. I was just racing this morning. All right. Representative Clouston, please proceed, my friend.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman Locke and committee. Thank you. This morning, I bring you House Bill 75, which deals with the virtual currency kiosks. Now, I would tell you, I'm not an expert in cryptocurrency. How this bill came about, it's a collaboration between law enforcement, AARP, the Banking Commission, and then the legitimate players in this field. So we have several cryptocurrency people that operate these, and they do everything they can to safeguard the public. But we have others who don't. So in my county alone, our law enforcement came to me last April and said, Campbell County had $3 million of fraud just out of our county. You know, this is a national problem. You're seeing it addressed by ALEC throughout the country, through AARP, and throughout with other legislatures. The laws are being passed vary. This law we kept not too constraining. You know, the technology changes so fast. We're really going to depend on the Banking Commission to kind of set the rules and regulations. And we're going to try to make this law as identical to the other money transmitter licenses as we can. So I can answer questions. I can walk through the bill, whatever your preference is, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Clausen, if you would walk through the bill, because I think we're all learning a little bit here. We've
Sure.
read it,
Yeah.
but you know how
I'm
that
with you.
goes, but that would be great, sir. Thank you.
It's not your only bill to read, so. So first page just says what it's going to do. So we're going to start putting some rules and regulations on these kiosks that currently don't have any. Page 2 is just dealing with the definitions. Commissioner, what a financial institution is, what this currency is, how it'll work. Page 3, authorized, and then we get into the penalties. And this is one area that we have an area that we need to clean up. When we go down to line 17 and below that, that language is taken directly from our other money transmitter language, except line 18, it says misdemeanor. In our other language, that actually says a felony. So we're going to need to get some being consistent on that. The Banking Commission will probably speak to that a little bit. Page 4, it's giving the commissioner to adopt rules regulating the operation of the virtual currency kiosks. And again, our suggestion is this more in rules and regulations than statute, because this technology changes so fast and the way that it gets abused. After that, we talk about confidentiality. Everything will be confidential. The commissioner can share the information when you get down to page 16 with other federal authorities, prosecuting attorneys. You know, right now, a lot of these machines don't have any receipts, and that's one of the problems. I'm going to call them illegitimate kiosk operators. You can't track them, and that's one of the problems the police are having. Once that money's gone, it's gone, and you can't figure out where it went. So this will have some receipts, electronic receipts available. Some states use paper receipts, but if that paper receipt gets lost, then the record's lost.
So Representative, so these receipts are for the people who are doing these transactions. So the receipts there, if they have a problem, they
Absolutely.
have something. And so some of these machines don't even do that.
Mr. Chairman, that is correct.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry. I
Yep.
just wanted clarification.
Nope.
I appreciate that.
Page 5, again, the Banking Commission shall propagate all rules necessary to implement this act. You know, I can tell you some of the legitimate players, like our other ATM machines, have a video camera as you're doing the transaction, right? So there's a record there. They keep the receipts. There's warning signs on these legitimate machines that say, if someone has called you and asked you to send money that you don't know, stop right now. I can tell you in my community, my police department actually went and put those signs up on these other machines, and the operators just tore those off. So this would require all those to have the warning signs. And you're going to hear from some people in the business today on things that they are doing to try to make this all legitimate and to protect our consumers. You know, when you look at the legitimate players, this is their business. And the illegitimate players are kind of ruining the business. So I think you're going to hear some suggestions from industry that'll help.
Excellent.
Yep. And really, that's the whole bill.
Representative Clausen, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking a little time with us. And questions for Representative Clausen? Representative Riggins, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, does the commission have a process of which you was talking about putting the labels on the machine? For example, gas pumps, they have a regular routine inspection. Does the Banking Commission have some type of plan for making sure kiosks are operating, functioning properly? Do they make them look at some kind of, when you say licensing, right? They all have to have licensing? My understanding from reading
Representative,
this.
please.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Riggins, through this law, they will have to be licensed. Currently, they are not. And as far as the warning signs, when you look at the legitimate machines, before you can advance through the screen to do the transaction, the warnings come up.
Representative Ricketts, please.
And so the commission can to license them, they can require cameras, they can put some things that are requirements on machines and
Representative.
Mr. Chairman.
improve the security.
Yep, Representative. Yeah, absolutely. That will be the suggestions. I think you'll hear that today from the commission and as well as the operators.
All right. Other questions? Representative Clausen, thank you for coming in here and speaking today. I appreciate it. And
Mr. Chairman,
do we have the-
representatives, thank you.
we have the commission here or others who need to speak on this bill. Do we have the banking? We don't have the banking committee. Do we? Oh, okay. Perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought I was going to have some friends join me up here at the same time to keep some things moving for you.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am Bobby Frank. I'm here representing Wyoming's credit unions. They serve over 300,000 Wyoming residents. Appreciate you taking this bill up. I'm going to spend my time sharing some stories with you. This issue came to the credit union leadership in the spring this last year because of the increase of fraud that we are seeing. And I'm going to read these examples to you. And all three of these examples come from different areas of the state. So you can see that this is starting to become a significant issue across the state of Wyoming. In one instance, the credit union in the past 12 months have had members lose a total of just over $300,000 due to fraud involving these crypto kiosks. One member alone lost $200,000 in a crypto kiosk fraud. The fraudsters are very convincing. These are educated, intelligent people. They are being preyed on for a number of reasons and convinced to go put their money into the kiosk. And as Representative Clausen explained, once it's in there, it's gone. The credit union in that case was able to stop an additional $300,000 worth of potential fraud from happening by their staff recognizing what was occurring. Another credit union in the central part of the state, actually in your area, Mr. Chairman, reported that an elderly member was contacted by scammers, two different members. The scammers were posing as government officials or the financial institution. They convinced this elderly gentleman that his Social Security was in jeopardy, and in order to secure it, he needed to put his money in a crypto kiosk. He lost his entire life savings. In another situation in the same area, a member came to the credit union branch confused and distressed after being convinced over the phone to use a virtual currency kiosk. The scammer created a sense of urgency and told the member that they were going to be arrested if they didn't put their money in the kiosk. They transferred all of their retirement funding to the kiosk. In this corner of the state, we have a credit union that has seen potential up to $50,000 so far, and that's only the fraud that's brought to their attention. In that case, the fraudster.
And if we can kind of.
Yes,
Wrap
Mr.
it up.
Chairman, I just
Yep.
feel that these are so important for you to
Agreed.
hear. In this particular case, the fraudster sent a cab, picked up the elderly lady, drove her to her financial institutions to go to the kiosk and put her money in. In that particular case, the credit union was able, the frontline staff recognized the member and was able to stop that particular fraud. So with those stories, Mr. Chairman, there is a rising, expanding problem with fraud involving the kiosks. We fully support the bill. I know that you will have some questions and have some amendments. I'm happy to answer questions from the credit union perspective when the time is appropriate.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Thank you so much for bringing your case. I really do appreciate it. I think many of us are just really becoming aware of this. A lot of times we don't see this until we see something like this, right? We may not experience it, but thank you so much. All right. Next, Mr. Laycock, or however you want to move down the line. What?
Good afternoon, Chairman and Committee. I'm Tom Laycock, AARP Wyoming. We are a membership organization for about 80,000 older adults in the state of Wyoming over the age of 50. Unfortunately, that's the age group that seems to be taking the brunt of these scams. So we would ask for your support on this bill. In speaking with the legislature and speaking with the general public, as you mentioned, Chairman Locke, this is a fairly new phenomenon in terms of what we're seeing with crypto ATMs. So let me offer a little overview. In short, they're machines that enable cash to crypto transactions, then facilitate the transfer of that crypto to virtual wallets worldwide. The average transaction performed through these machines is about $300. We think there's about 50 of them in the state of Wyoming. There's 11 here in the state in Cheyenne. Virtual kiosks are also one of the rare parts of the industry that in some cases allow customers to exchange cash for virtual currency without going through the know your customer laws or process first. Overall, the crypto market is 3.9 trillion in 2023. Just 182 million of that came through these machines. Ordinarily, when people are buying crypto, like myself, I kind of like playing around in a little bit, use an exchange, something like a Coinbase, a Robinhood, a Crypto.com. And when you do that, the exchanges have a tendency, they charge me between 0.25% and 3% for each transaction. What you'll find is these machines run 20 to 25%. We are hearing a lot about our citizens being scammed. I'll give you kind of an example of one of them that's going around right now. People are getting a phone call, and when they pick up their phone, it says, for example, Laramie County Sheriff. The person on the other end tells them that they've missed jury duty and they need to put $9,000 into one of these cryptocurrency machines immediately or face arrest. And that $9,000 is interesting. That is an important number because at $10,000, it trips a suspicious activity report or a SARS. So the scammer will stay on the phone with the victim, explain to them where the closest ATM is, how to use it, how to get the cash out of your bank, how to use the crypto ATM, then how to transfer that money to their virtual wallet. So in 2024, the FBI received just shy of 11,000 complaints of fraud using crypto kiosks, resulting in 246 million nationwide. Now we remind ourselves that fraud and scam is notoriously underreported because people feel either embarrassed or they feel like there's nothing that can, nothing that can be done. So you kind of throw your arms up in the air. Representative Clouston talked about the impacts in Gillette, 3 million in losses, 75 to 100 reports of scams with these machines just last year. In Cheyenne, we're closer to 50 that we know of with $650,000 in losses. We've currently seen a lot of other states move to regulation to address the issue. So we've seen 15 other states that have something, 17 other ones will have something that they're running this legislative session. Other states have simply chosen to bring litigation.
Mr. Laycock, if you wrap it up, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
In October 2023, the Iowa Attorney General determined 98% of the transactions facilitated by Bitcoin Depot and 94% of the money that went through coin flip machines over a near 3-year period were related to scams and fraud. We've also seen similar lawsuits in DC and Massachusetts. Our ask is simply to put this into the hands of Jeremiah Bishop. He's been dealing with this now for about 1.5 years. He has an understanding for what works and what doesn't work by talking to his fellow banking commissioners around the state. And the last thing I'd mention is we did a survey 2 summers ago, asked 700 older adults in Wyoming the question, for each of the following statements, tell me which you would rather tell me. Would you be more or less likely to vote for a candidate that advocated for this position? 83% of those surveyed said they'd be more likely to vote for a candidate who advocated for protecting Wyoming citizens from fraud and scams. That was second on our survey. 3 points higher than even property tax relief. So as you're thinking about, the coming year, this is something that makes a lot of sense to support, not just for citizenry, but as well for campaigns. So that said, I'd be happy to take
All
any
right.
questions.
Questions for Mr. Laycock? Representative Lane, please.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thank you for coming today. My question is, how do these folks go about finding their victims? Are they verifying their bank accounts? Are they hacking on the back end? Where are we at on how they're identifying who to go after?
Mr.
Mr.
Laycock.
Chairman, Representative Lean, it's a numbers game. It's just a matter of how many phone numbers can I text out? How many can I call out? And if I get a no 50 times, but I get that one time where I get $9,000 or I get $10,000, well, today just paid for itself. The Gillette PD actually went pretty far down the rabbit hole on this. They're telling us it's overseas actors, and in some cases, folks in Burma and that area. In fact, they said there are, in fact, some warlords who are funding their revolutions by kidnapping people, putting them into office buildings, and having them make phone calls to do just this. So it's a fascinating world that we live in right now.
Other questions? Mr. Laycock? All right, let's proceed down. And again, try not to repeat too much, but let's keep it moving. And thank you all for being here. I really do appreciate you bringing some information to this. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is David Pope. I'm a certified public accountant, a chartered global management accountant, past member of the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, and I currently serve on the Wyoming Stable Token Commission, and I am one of the governor's liaisons to the Select Committee on Blockchain. Though today I'm appearing entirely on behalf of myself because I have no clients that own Bitcoin ATMs, and I have no real interest in that area, though it is something that will become more common as we move along, the use of digital assets for payments. And so I do have a minor interest in one of the amendments that I'm going to suggest, and that is something I'll get to in a moment. But I was originally against this bill because it does absolutely nothing to stop fraud, at the very least in the near term. We know that the rulemaking process in Wyoming, and I've just experienced that with the Stable Token Commission, is long, and rightly so. It's arduous, and it requires much time and effort and consideration. So this bill doesn't do anything to stop fraud right now. Most of the ATMs and most of the Bitcoin ATMs in the state already have money transmitter licenses. And frankly, the cryptocurrency and digital assets are exempt from the money transmitter licensing rules. And so there's a weird interplay that, and after a discussion with Mr. Bishop, and I won't really claim to talk for him or anything, but after a discussion with him, he believes, I think, or at least I believe, that there's this weird kind of dichotomy between not being covered by MTL and now it's going to be covered by MTL. So I was originally against this, and I thought that we should, as the Select Committee, review it during interim and give it a full hearing. But the problem, the CPA in me, the fraud examiner in me, says something has to happen now. So I have switched. I believe this is a foundational bill that needs to be passed, but there needs to be a certain amount of it needs to be both a kind of a sword and a shield type of thing. It needs to have some teeth, and the amendments that I'm going to recommend give it some teeth. So I have copies of the amendments. Would the chairman like me to pass those out?
Please.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
I am not certain I made enough, but I think we can figure it out.
That's okay. We can share. We'll take one. Just make sure the LSO gets a copy.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll share one. I don't, we'll share it. What's that? We'll just look here. He's got three of them. Three of them?
They're just different pages.
No,
They're all. This is amendment. Amendment 2.
Yeah, okay.
Amendment 3.
All right. And if you could summarize them fairly quickly, because we'll probably get to talking about them, but please go ahead.
Yes, okay. Amendment
Swear.
one, if, right now, if I put a small terminal in my office that allows my clients to pay via Wyoming stable token, my guess is I would have to have a money transmitter's license under this bill. So I think we need to clean up the language in that section. So that would be in the definition section. The second one is an amendment that requires either a 24-hour or a 48-hour waiting period after a transaction is consummated before the funds are sent. The reason is that anyone attempting to commit fraud, they don't want law enforcement to have the Bitcoin wallet address that has to be provided. And if the fraud is discovered within that 24 or 48-hour period, then what will happen is that law enforcement with proper training will be able to trace where that money is going and be able to both stop it and investigate the person receiving it. That, in my opinion, will nearly eliminate most of the fraud attempts within the state of Wyoming. They will either do that or it'll stop it, or they'll direct them their target to go to Colorado or another state to make the transaction, which will be physically impossible for most of those. So that gives real teeth to it. And I don't believe that can be done in rule without authorization in the bill. That's something LSO will have to speak to, but it also indicates the will of the legislature directly. And my third one is and I also had an issue with an insurmountable barrier to entry for a small operator that wanted to have a very compliant Bitcoin ATM and also help to prevent fraud in it and just provide the service within their store or whatever. It's something that an MTL license, money transmitter license, is difficult to get and very costly to maintain for a small operator. So I wanted to reduce, with the third amendment, I wanted to reduce the barrier to entry somewhat. The second one puts real teeth in the bill. And the first amendment just cleans up some of the language that would prevent me from having a terminal for my clients to use to pay me in my office. So that's the intent. That's a summary of those. And I am not an attorney, even though I have stayed at various Holiday Inns. And so LSO, of course, would have to review them. And I am happy to stand for questions on these amendments.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Pope? Representative Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Pope, thank you for being here today. And maybe you can't speak to this and we'll wait for the commissioner, but what in your experience are the types of businesses that are typically licensed as money transmitters?
Mr. Pope.
I think I would rather the commission answer for that. Okay. Okay. But money transmitter licenses are normally what they sound like. The old Western Unions, the old folks like that. They transmit money directly from one person to another and provide that service.
All right. Other questions, Mr. Pope? Representative Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just follow up because I think that the public does not understand a lot of these concepts. So I just want to clarify for a moment. So ATMs, typically automated teller machines, dispense cash. These machines may or may not, or can you draw cash from these machines? But what they're doing is actually transferring money from one source to another or one account to another rather than dispensing cash. But some of them have the ability to accept cash, is my understanding.
Mr. Pope.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Lucas, yes, they accept cash and they accept, it's my understanding they accept credit cards and they first convert dollars to cryptocurrency or digital assets and then transmit the digital assets and transfer those to wallet addresses that are designated by the initiator of the transaction.
Other questions? Representative Worf.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm not sure if this is a fair question to ask you, Mr. Pope, but one of the questions that I have, it sounds like these MTL machine, the licensing is very expensive. Has there been any thought about associating a penalty if your MTL is used in the commission of a fraud?
Mr. Pope.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would advise against that. I would, if I were questioned about that. One of the suggestions by another group was that one of the suggestions is that the ATM operator reimburse for fraud. I would be highly against that because what you are doing, just like with a regular ATM, if a person uses that improperly, I don't believe that there should be any penalty to the person providing the service. However, if there is, and one of the things I'm taught to look for are trends, and if there is a particular ATM that has a concentrated amount of fraud, then that can be a target for law enforcement and be used very effectively in identifying who may be behind some of these frauds. Now, one of my other thoughts is that this bill should provide penalties to ATM operators that sell or monetize the names and personal information of the users as too, because that could be a source of fraud. Someone identifying who uses these ATMs already.
So let's please tighten it up a little bit. So let's make it short. Thank you.
I just want to make sure that we're doing due justice to this because fraud is very troubling and concerning to me. And I guess my line of reasoning, I'm used to dealing a lot with firearms, okay? And I guess I look at it, if I leave my gun sitting around, somebody picks up my gun and uses it in a crime, I'm liable for that. And I really question whether that's not the best way to handle this, is the vehicle that's being used to commit the fraud, it is these MTLs. And if we can make them shoulder the burden to have to fix the fraud that's perpetuated on the people using their machine. And I guess I just don't know enough about how much control they have over their machine. But I look at it, that's the best way to shut it down is if you hit the guy in the pocketbook that's basically the middleman letting all this stuff go. That seems to me the best way to approach that. And I'm only asking because I may bring an amendment to add that.
All right.
May I?
Mr. Pope, yeah, and
Yes,
please
thank you,
keep it
Mr.
like,
and-
keep the
and I-
conversation short, so, because we got to keep moving.
And I will, and I believe that what we do, just like with firearms, is we give a list of compliance requirements. And if that ATM operator or that Bitcoin ATM operator isn't complying with that list of requirements, then yes, I think they can be found to be held liable. We can build that into the whole process, but it can't be just wide open, one fraud, they're liable. I think if they are not complying, then yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really
Thank you.
appreciate the opportunity.
You bet. Thank you so much, and thank you for bringing those up, because this is sort of new territory, and we're all trying to, I think, get our arms around this a little bit, understanding that this is likely to be legislation that's going to, let me say this, we may have to get moving or make decisions when the time to move and sort of adjust over time. But anyway, Representative Wharf, please.
Mr. Chairman, I got one more real quick one. And I don't know if you know this answer, if somebody knows it, but do you know how many MTL companies or corporations are that are out there? I mean, is it a handful or is it lots?
Yeah, I
Chairman,
think you deferred that question earlier to the commissioner, right? So let's go ahead.
Stop. Apologize and say, let's get
Look,
the banking commissioner.
oh, he's on.
He's on. Zoom.
Oh, very good. Okay, perfect. All right. So let's do this. Let's move on but real quickly, looks like the banking commissioner's on Zoom. Is that right?
Yes, sir. I will go ahead and promote him to a panelist, and he should be on the screen here in just a moment.
Okay, that's good. And sorry, I don't mean to cut you two gentlemen short, but please stay there and let's get him involved in this process. So I was hoping we could do that as quickly as we could.
Mr. Chairman,
Very good. Thank you,
Jeremiah
Mr. Pope.
is online. I will leave it up to him to turn on his camera and audio.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. A quick mic test. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. And thank you for being here, Mr. Commissioner. We appreciate your attention to this, and I'm sure you can bring some light and color to the whole process, but we appreciate that. Thank you. Please proceed, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for allowing me to testify remotely. I'm in Florida testifying or presenting on other similar related items to other state regulators. So yes, thank you for the opportunity to talk in front of you. This is something that I have worked with different members on over the last year or so. So first, I'm just going to kind of go over a little bit of my presentation, and then I'll try to address some of the questions that I've heard pop up so far. So yes, this bill would require you to either be a money transmitter licensed through our division or a financial institution chartered in Wyoming. So that is a Wyoming bank, trust company, or a special purpose depository institution. You would have to go through one of those routes if you wanted to operate one of these kiosks. And one of the things I also would like to point out is that we call these, virtual currency kiosks. They are not in any way related to a bank ATM. A bank ATM operates very differently. A lot of times these are referred to as ATMs, but please make sure that those are very different things and should be treated differently. So that yes, this bill, if you want to operate one of these, you have to get a money transmitter license, most likely. Currently, I think we've identified approximately 6 entities that are operating these kiosks in Wyoming right now. 3 of them already have money transmission licenses with us. To be a money transmitter, you are sending fiat currency. So that's US dollars. Virtual currency is exempt under Wyoming law. So the 3 that are not licensed with us, it's just because they're not actually sending money on behalf of the customer to somewhere else. They're doing the virtual currency only. And so that's why they're exempt under our law. This would require them to get a money transmission license to operate the kiosk. Right now, these kiosk operators are considered money service businesses by FinCEN. That's the Federal Financial Crime Enforcement Bureau. And so they are already required to have BSA programs, things like that, regardless of how they're regulated. What this does is ensures that we, as the Division of Banking, are regulating them and ensuring that they're complying with whatever, the law and the rules we create in this act, but also federal PSA requirements. And then also this law, requires me to make rules on the operation of these kiosks. So some of the things I could put in there is some of the items that we've seen in other states do. Those are things such as, you must identify each location of the kiosk to us. You maybe put a transaction limit for each customer in any maybe 24-hour period. The disclosures or receipts that we've been talking about, I think that's a very important part. And I think rather than a paper receipt or disclosure that can get ripped off, is you must have signed acknowledgement from the customer that they were given these disclosures. And that must be a part of the operator records. Set limits on fees, and also, you must clearly disclose fees. That's something that we could put in rule. And then if somebody was getting scammed and they contact the operator within a 3-day period, hey, this was a scam, maybe allow an avenue that they could refund the fees only. One thing that I think I would put in rule is these blockchain analytics. This is tools that these companies can use to help screen whether or not this is potential fraud. When given the wallet address of the transaction, they can run it through this software. And if that address is a known association with a scam, that will create a red flag. And so if you require the operator to run it through this technology first, and they get that red flag, they can just return the customer's funds. So and that would have to be done before, after they get the customer instructions, but before the transaction is actually sent. Other things is maybe make some prohibitions on transactions with new customers. This is related to, I think it was Mr. Pope's recommendation that there's a 24-hour wait period. This would require, hey, if this is a brand new customer, you must verify who they are before you send their transaction. And then obviously, we talked about the receipts a little bit, but we require that they keep receipts in electronic format to be sent to the customer, but also to us and law enforcement if needed. And then now it's also record keeping, making sure they keep records of all the customer instructions, the due diligence they did on those customers, the blockchain analytics that they did, and keep all those in records so that we can look at them during examinations, and also they can give those to law enforcement if there's a fraudulent activity located or identified later time. Those are some of the things we could put into rulemaking. I think one of the benefits of having that in rule is we're a little bit more flexible in rulemaking. If some of these are too heavy-handed, we can work with the industry, we can work with law enforcement, and we can scale it back pretty quickly. Or if we get in and say this is not enough, we can make changes to our rules and add more requirements. And then obviously, I think my plan would be to work with the legislature, probably through the Blockchain Select Committee during the interim on all of this to make any recommendations or just give updates on how this is going. That'd be my plan. Obviously, is work very, very closely with you all just to see if any of this should be codified in law rather than rule. So one of the other questions I think came up was money transmission. Again, that is sending fiat currency, and the idea of using somebody else's license to commit fraud was one of the questions I heard. So right now we would call that unlicensed activity. And so within this bill, if you are conducting business without a license, I think one of the recommendations from the bringer of the bill was to make that a felony charge. That's what the tool we would use in that case, because the person sending this transaction would not be licensed with us, and they would not be following this law and the related rules. And so we would investigate that, and we could either send a cease and desist first to make sure, hey, you are using this and you're not licensed. And then if we think it's knowingly, then we can make the recommendation to the Attorney General's office to bring felony charges on that person using somebody else's license. And also that is very unlikely, because the way these work is you have to have access to the blockchain wallets to send this, and only the operator will have those private keys. That is one of the things with blockchain. It is very secure. You cannot get somebody else's key, mostly unless they give it to you. So most of the time, these operators are going to have an IT program that securely protects those private keys. And so it's very unlikely somebody else could use that without them knowing it. And that is something that we examine for as well, is what's their IT and what's those security protections in place. So hopefully that answers that question. But that's the prepared comments I had, but I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have. I'm sure you have some.
Question for the commissioners, Representative Stivar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Bishop, Mr. Pope made the comments about the rulemaking and the process for the rulemaking. If this was to pass, you could have rules in place until as quick as possible and then go through the rulemaking process. Is that how that would work?
Mr. Bishop?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Representative Stivar. Yes, the process would be if this bill passes and it gets signed into law, I think the effective date is July 1st. So we would immediately get started on the rulemaking process. The regular rulemaking process does take several months. So we would start on that as soon as possible to get those published and out for comment. And then if we think that we need time, come about June 1st, we would get started on the emergency rule process. So we could make the identical rules, only put them in emergency format, just so that they're in place come July 1st when this becomes effective. And then those would be replaced by the normal rulemaking process that went through the public comment period. So that's how that would work. So we could have emergency rules in place come July 1st if needed, and then regular rules in place shortly thereafter. So it's about a 3-month process. So yes, we would know if this is going to get passed well in advance to get that process started.
Thank you, Mr. Bishop. You're good. Other questions for Representative Lean, please, or Lucas, please. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Bishop, thank you for the information you're giving us. If this law passes, who owns a virtual kiosk would not likely be a money transmitter? I guess I'm wondering what types of businesses would be precluded from owning and operating kiosks?
Mr. Bishop, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Representative Lucas. So currently, if you wanted to operate one of these kiosks, if I make sure I understand the question correctly, who would be precluded from getting this money transmitter license currently that would have to get a money transmitter license later? So currently I think I mentioned those 3 operators who are not licensed with us. We have been in contact with them overall because most of the time that is very close to money transmission. The only thing is they're sending virtual currency, not fiat dollars. So that's why they're not currently licensed. So we have already given them an analysis of their plan to make sure that it's not money transmission. And so those 3 operators would have to get a money transmitter license if this law were to pass, and they currently don't have one. I will say those 3 companies already have money transmitter licenses in most other states. Most states do not exempt virtual currency from money transmission. Wyoming does. And so those companies are already very well aware of the money transmitter license process. It would not be new to them, and it would not be, I think, a very difficult task for them to get one more license just in Wyoming when they're already licensed in probably most other states.
Representative Lucas? Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Different question. Do you know, and perhaps this question will be best for somebody else, but the fraud situations that have been described to us, do those victims have virtual accounts? Are they already dealing in Bitcoin or have Bitcoin accounts, or is it a matter of money? They are coerced into withdrawing funds from their bank accounts and then sending it or transmitting it to a virtual account.
Mr. Bishop, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know the full answer to that. I do know that most of the time, I think the victims of fraud probably have not bought Bitcoin elsewhere. One of the questions I kind of have made to the industry is, if you're a Bitcoin investor, why are you using these kiosks? You can do that online. I can do that on Venmo or other account online. I will say I was actually targeted by a scammer several months ago. They tried to hit me with, I missed jury duty. Please put $9,000 into this Bitcoin ATM. I did not, but I've never used one of these before, and I was still targeted. So I do think this might be a question for law enforcement, but I would be surprised if the victims of these frauds have ever invested in Bitcoin before.
All right. Any other questions for, and Mr. Bishop, hopefully you can kind of stay online here with us, but a quick question for you. So just for clarification, in my mind, the ones that do not have MTL licenses. So these are people that are literally transferring digital currency to digital currency directly. And so that's the issue there. Is that right? And in this particular case, they would have to get a license. If this were to pass, we'd have to get a license.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yes, currently those ones, they are doing virtual currency to virtual currency. There's no fiat transfer. That's why they're not required if this were to pass. If they wanted to continue operating just these kiosks, then yes, they would need to get a money transmitter license. If they want to continue just being an online exchange of virtual currency without the operation of these kiosks, no, they would not have to.
Thank you. And so that kind of anybody else have questions? Don't let me get in front of the rest of the committee. Let me ask you additional questions. So you feel like you are you've got sufficient knowledge to get some initial rulemaking, if we had to go through the emergency rulemaking process and all of that for this initial rule? Because what I see here is a couple of things, and I would like you to opine on this. I see the fact that this is really just emerging. So this is an issue with fraud that we're trying to figure out how to build an appropriate box around. Let me put it that way. So this is one of those things. So my gut is this is going to be, if we proceed, we will implement an initial, give you some initial guidance to create rules, let's say. The rules probably going in place roughly would attempt to create the right box and hopefully incentivize the appropriate players, make sure that we only have the right players in the market, and then incentivize them to do the right things from a fraud perspective, understanding that the entire element of fraud is far outside just these kiosks. That is an obvious thing. I mean, there's a broader conversation here I don't want to get hung up on. But there's this broader conversation of people getting a phone call and making a bad decision that extends well beyond this. But you feel like you have enough information for this, for lack of a better term, an initial phase to move us forward. Is that accurate?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, that's accurate. We do have the knowledge and expertise to handle this. We've been regulating virtual currency for several years now. We created our special purpose bank that almost exclusively targets the virtual currency economy. So yes, we do know enough to put something in place, at least initially, to help prevent the fraud. And my goal would be to not be overly heavy-handed with regulation. It should be the right size. I don't want the good actors to be overly penalized. Most likely, any rules we put in place, those good actors are already complying with. Mostly because other states probably will have more restrictive regulations than we do, and that most of these companies operate nationwide. And so, yes, I think we can have some right-sized regulation on this that will help prevent the fraud without over penalizing the good actors.
Thank you. That's helpful for me, because that was actually one of the issues. It's easy for us to over-regulate, if you will, and break this in. With us understanding it at the level we do, I want to enter this with, not throw so much red tape at this that we become our own enemy here. So, but thank you. That's helpful. Other questions for Mr. Bishop? And please, we would like you to stay on. I think it's going to be important as we continue. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Please proceed, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Nick Morris. I'm with the Wyoming Business Alliance. We represent businesses from every industry in every corner of the state. We actively advocate for policies that help our various members thrive. The Wyoming Business Alliance is a nonprofit, and we're funded by our members. We have some of our members with us here today from credit unions, banks, and other nonprofits that we represent. We support this bill as it aligns with our business climate priority by providing clear regulatory certainty through rulemaking. And from a business perspective, this bill enhances consumer trust and market stability, limits the market to only licensed operators, and levels the playing field for all businesses in this space while expanding opportunities for trusted financial institutions. So with these benefits to Wyoming's business climate, we support this bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Questions for Mr. Morris? Very good. Thank you so much. Sir, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Alan Thompson, the Executive Director of WASCOP, the Wyoming Association of Sheriffs and Chiefs of Police. And we would just ask for favorable consideration on this. And as the testimony that you heard earlier, we believe that this is a foundational bill. It's a starting point. And as this industry and our investigative acuity continues to grow, then we might need to come back and ask for additional things. But from a law enforcement perspective, we're looking at prevention, interruption. That interruption during the time is kind of like the prevention, but that's the key point where we can try and stop that transaction, and then the investigation afterwards. And we think that this bill would start the process for all of that, the rulemaking to allow for help from the industry to identify and prevent these fraud activities from happening. And then the investigation portion of it has been a struggle as our enforcement officers are learning about this technology along with the victim that's, often never had an experience with a cryptocurrency type of transaction. So is this the best possible outcome for all people involved today? Maybe not, but I think we have to have a starting point, and we would like to move forward with this bill. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Question for Mr. Thompson. And thank you for bringing it. And I think that is really probably it. And I think the commissioner actually mentioned it, that this might have to be something, to be honest with you. This is new enough. This is one of those situations where you almost have to, you got to kind of get the ball rolling a little bit to understand it. I'm at least trying to make sense and understand where we land on this, because it's going to have to mature over the next couple of years, almost certainly, this process. So we're just trying to understand where that all lands. But thank you. That is very helpful to understand. And maybe in this rulemaking, this will bring some cohesion to the law enforcement's approach to dealing with this as well, because I'm sure this is sort of the Wild West right now. And so thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, my name is Nathan Nicholas. I'm with the Cook Law Firm here in Cheyenne. I'm here on behalf of my client, Bitcoin Depot. Bitcoin Depot is an operator of the virtual currency kiosks. They do currently have an MTL in Wyoming, so they're a licensed money transmitter license. I'm mostly here to answer any questions the committee may have, but I think a little procedural history on how we're here today might help give a little background. In September, there was legislation proposed to the Select Blockchain Committee by one of the industry groups that spoke, or one of the consumer groups that spoke earlier. There's also, and then the Select Blockchain Committee took that legislation and had intended to draft some additional legislation for a December meeting, which never occurred for various reasons. There's also a bill, as was mentioned that's been proposed by ALEC. And then there's also a bill that's been drafted by the industry itself. And all three of those bills advance regulation for these kiosks. And because of that, my client supports this bill. I think this bill came in the form it's at because all of the stakeholders believe that the rulemaking process through the banking commissioner was satisfactory to get things moving today. And as through the Administrative Procedure Act, administrative rules can evolve more quickly than legislation can. So as these companies develop better automation, better artificial intelligence detection, fraud prevention mechanisms, they can work with the commissioner to rapidly adapt rules. Whereas with the legislation, it might be 12 to 24 months before statute can adapt to changing technology. And we're here today because these kiosks have evolved within the last 12 months. And so what the landscape will look like in the next 12 months, nobody knows. And because of that, I think I would urge this commission to resist any of the amendments that have been proposed in terms of waiting periods and holding periods and things like that. And I honestly didn't quite understand what those amendments were. And hopefully if they get worked up, we'll understand them a little bit better. But Bitcoin Depot supports the bill as it is and is looking forward to working with the commissioner to promulgate rules to prevent any future fraud.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Nicholas? All right, very good. Thank you so much. And I have a feeling we're all going to be working our way through this over the coming year in the interim, more than likely, but thank you. Please proceed.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Jessie Defoe and I'm here with CoinFlip. We also are operators in the state with an MTL license, and we appreciate this piece of legislation. I know that you have a lot of things to get to today, so I do want to be shorter on time because we agree with the previous speaker of the thing said. We're happy to be regulated. We do believe that good actors should have clear regulations to work within the space, but also to protect those who are vulnerable. I appreciate the comments earlier alluding to the fact that this is a larger fraud problem in general in multiple areas. This just happens to be the certain vehicle being used. So we would like to work together and to be a good partner in creating those regulations and those rules so that we can protect those, but then also keep business moving. I would like to say we do have a CoinFlip representative also online who can answer specific questions. And so I would be happy to defer the rest of my time to Clara Wolfson, I believe is online right now. So if that would be all right, we can bring her in or wait till after all the
Well, and we can do that. And I was going to ask a question. If there's a question for Ms. Defoe, let me ask a question real quick to both to Mr. Nicholas and Ms. Defoe. The question was, you guys heard kind of the commissioner's high-level rundown of rules. Is this consistent practice? Are these things that some of the vendors are already doing? Is that I would like to get a feel for it. Some of these things seemed very common sense to me. I mean, there were things in there. There were other things in there though that I would argue put some demands, but I would think you're doing some blacklisting and whitelisting concepts and things like that. I heard him mention. Are these concepts that your vendors are already attempting to implement to make sure they're not sucked into the bad acting side of this? So
Sure. And Mr. Chairman, and I'm happy to have Mr. Nicholas weigh into this as well. But yes, so CoinFlip is already very proactive in what they are doing. So they have 15 kiosks in Wyoming and only 1% illicit activity happening. And I think it's because they already choose to self-regulate. So they have a $15,000 daily limit that they can put in. So when you hear some of these big amounts, it's just not even possible with their kiosks. I've sent to some of the committee members and happy to send to the rest, since everything was moving so fast this week, the signs that even come up that say, stop. Are you involved in this? Are they asking this? Holds for new customers make a lot of sense. Those who interact on this on a regular basis, and that's how they do business. The holds, I don't know that makes sense for them, but for new customers, absolutely. Maybe even with an age limit of 65 or older, whatever that may be. Those are certainly something that are up for discussion. We see the need for, but I think because we in particular have chose to self-impose these regulations, that's why we're not seeing the amount of frauds within our kiosks, and very much appreciate the idea of the emergency rules and then a fuller, broader rulemaking process after those are in place.
Thank you. And Mr. Nicholas.
Mr. Chairman, I think my client's operations are similar to Ms. Defoe's client in that there are certain screens that you have to go through before you can do the transaction, including certifying that you own the wallet that you're transferring money to. So transferring money to somebody else's wallet would be a violation of the terms that you agree to when you start the transaction. Verification, ID verification, so that, similar to KYC laws that the banks are subject to. And then also things like you're only allowed to have one account per ID to prevent you from. So what was happening is the fraudsters were coming in and creating, to get around that $15,000 or $10,000 transaction limit, they're creating 5 accounts for the same person. So preventing that type of stuff. This is more like a whack-a-mole. Every time you solve a problem, they create a workaround for it. And these fraudsters are professionals. They spend their entire life figuring out how to work around these things. So every time a new scheme pops up, there's more put into the algorithm in the automation to try and prevent those schemes. And so that's how this is going to work.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I just want to get a feel. Representative Lucas, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nicholas, thank you. Would you say that the safeguards that Ms. Defoe and you have described are typical for kiosk owners, operators, or is this something that I know you guys don't want to have that enforced because you're already doing it, but are others not doing that then? So we don't have limits at some kiosk operators. We don't have, do they not have warnings on them? Yeah, just give me a little bit more on that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Lucas, I'd be speculating if I said one or the other. I honestly don't have an intimate knowledge of how other operators are running their kiosks. I think anecdotally, you've seen prosecutions in other states that suggest that that's not occurring, but I haven't interacted with these kiosks.
Fair enough. All right. Anybody, any other questions from the committee? Thank you so much. And you have someone online too. Do they want to speak or can they keep it quick?
But I would like to hear, she was out here in September during the blockchain committee. I would just like you guys to have a chance to meet her really quick and she can answer any logistic questions for you.
That would be great. So we will do that. We'll go ahead and take that online. Sorry, Mr. Winnie, but we'll get this kind of out of the way since, yeah, let's do that. And her name is Claire Wolfson. Okay, gotcha.
Mr. Chairman, we have Clara Wolfson online.
Good morning, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
Ms. Wolfson, please.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you.
Fantastic. Hello, everyone. My name is Clara Wolfson, joining you this morning from Des Moines, Iowa. I'm the Associate Director of Government Relations at CoinFlip, a cryptocurrency kiosk company. Just a little background about the company. We operate in 49 states and in 7 different countries around the world. We've been in business since 2015, so we have some experience to draw on. And I would like to just echo what Jesse said. We are in full support of this bill. We are pro-regulation. And, you know, there's a lot of things we've learned over the last decade. We've been in business about how responsible operators should conduct themselves in the marketplace, which is why we're in support of this bill and also why we're in support of, in concept at least, every amendment that I've heard floated today is something that CoinFlip could be supportive of. You know, I was looking to see language, but we want to still operate in the marketplace, but have safeguards that protect consumers, especially in Wyoming. Like Jesse said, we have 15 machines. We've been in Wyoming for the last 5 years, and I can tell you that in those 5 years, we have received a total of 4 refund requests because of fraud and scams, and we have completed 3 of those. We always refund fees as a matter of practice when we learn about illicit activity because we never want to profit off of fraud. So that's one of the things that we do to make sure that you know, we are holding ourselves accountable and being good actors in the marketplace. Like Jesse said, some of the other things that we do are self-imposed daily limits. We also use blockchain analytics, would fully support that requirement in Wyoming as well. Have very robust disclosures and receipts, have kind of what we consider the gold standard in the industry of warnings before you're ever even allowed to proceed with a transaction. So the first thing you'll see when you come to our machine is a stop sign and then 6 questions designed to catch the common scams that are going on at any given moment. So I believe the commissioner mentioned earlier a warrant scam. One of the first things you'll see when you come to our machine is stop. Has someone sent you here asking you to pay a warrant? If so, don't proceed, call our customer service. And just the way that we operate as a business, we don't allow the transmission of money in between wallets. We are strictly the purchase of crypto with cash. And when you go through our terms of service, one of the things that you'll see is that you are only sending money to your own wallet. You're agreeing to that. And in fact, we have a strict one wallet, one person policy. It's called wallet pinning in the industry. So if you have an account and we have that cryptocurrency wallet linked to you, we will allow no one else to send money to that wallet. So there's various different practices, and we're more than willing to work with the commissioner. And I just want to express our gratitude to Representative Clouston, Senator Rothfuss, and others that have worked on this bill. And talking about these rules going forward, there's definitely room for more consumer protection measures, and we're happy to be a resource and be helpful to figure out what some of those look like. Just a matter of course, I want to make sure I go through how a transaction really works. So when you come to our machines, we only offer about the top 10 cryptocurrencies listed on. Yeah.
We might cut you a little short here. We appreciate it. I think this process be ongoing, but thank you for that. And you actually gave me a little insight on a couple of issues, but we appreciate you attending. Sorry, we're trying to keep it a little tight here, but thank you so much
Totally
for
understand.
attending. And you gave a little bit of additional insight on the fact that the good players are trying to already work through this, and certainly nobody knows how to work through these problems better than you guys. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Okay. Representative Singh, I hate to get you okay with, let's let Mr. Winnie, since he's been sitting there a bit, we'll let him do that if that's okay, Representative. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Bill Winnie, Sublette County. The protections you build in for the elderly or others of reduced mental capacity are really important. Excuse me. I personally observed my father, who passed away from emphysema. There's a 10-year ramp in mental decline associated with that. I observed my father-in-law, a veteran of Japanese prisoner of war camp in World War II, again with a slide in mental decline. And I'm observing my son down in Colorado care for his mother-in-law, who has some pretty secure finances, but she's carrying a big balance in a checking account that could be readily accessed, and her mental capacity is sliding. So how do they find these people? We had one question like that. There was one point in time where I was contacted. I'm a vice president of the Green River Valley Health Foundation, and they tried to isolate me off so they could get access to the money that the foundation has. Well, my antenna were vibrating right away. And there's another case where one of these scams where they want you to go get the money card and so on. Again, my antenna were vibrating. I ended up reporting it to the Sheriff Lair in Sublette County. So how do they get these things? There's this thing called the dark web. And don't ask me much about it. I'm not part of it or anything, but these are people that pass around names, social security numbers, and other financial information on possible targets. It's my opinion that once fraud is shown in a transaction, the company that enabled that should have exercised some due diligence, and they should be directed to refund the money. I think that's an important, once you get the transactor on the hook, they're going to put in place some protections too that are perhaps even better or more important or more capable than what you might put in legislations. Subject to your questions, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Winnie? Thank you, Mr. Winnie. Appreciate you being here. Representative Singh, thank you so much, because you may even have more insight on this. So this is great. We appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm Daniel Singh, representative from House District 61. I'm also the chairman of the Select Committee on Blockchain, Financial Technology, and Digital Innovation Technology. I'm here to advocate for this bill, I'm a co-sponsor of this bill. This was a topic that came to the select committee kind of at the last minute, but nonetheless, it is an important issue, and I cannot understate that. If people are facing injustice, then it's our responsibility to tackle that. And so I think this is an important issue to tackle. We didn't have enough time in the committee with the meetings that actually materially formulated themselves. We weren't able to give this the amount of time that I think it needed, but I want to support the purpose of this bill. There is a clear injustice that's happening where folks are putting their money into machines, but they're not able to, in a concrete way, track their money, the things that they've worked for their entire lives. And it's particularly our older folks, those members of the community that are established and have been a part of our community for so long. I don't want them to face any sort of injustice, but at the same time, I am weary of undue government interference and the fact that these individuals and these companies that provide the service, they allow for the opportunity to turn one investment into material cash. And so I wouldn't want to step on their ability to do that either. Mr. Pope and I, we serve on the select committee together, and so I think he has brought a lot of good points. But this is a serious issue for the people of Wyoming, and I appreciate your attention to the matter, and I would like to advocate for the bill, but I think it could be made better.
Any questions for Representative Singh, please? Representative Riggins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Representative Singh. So were you here when we received some amendments from Mr. Pope?
Representative Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Representative Riggins. I was just walking in. I had a kidney stone, okay, and you never forego having to address whatever natural needs you may have with that. But so I have spoken with Mr. Pope and I've worked closely with him, and he is typically right on the money. And I know that his concern has to do with the mechanics of how this bill may work, and that I don't think those concerns should be taken lightly. I don't think that we should toss the bill out, but I do think that we need to work on it to make it the best bill that it can be. I appreciate the efforts of Representative Brown yesterday in making a bill that needed some work better, and I think we can do something similar here.
Representative Riggins.
Well, I think that I've been reading through those amendments closely, and I think they're very adaptable. So I just want to make sure you were understood that they were presented. Thank you.
Other questions for Representative Singh? Thank you so much. Just kind of a side, no, please go ahead, Representative, if you have something. Sorry.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, just
cut you off.
one more thought. This is a statewide issue. I have several of these kiosks in my district, and I know that people in the state of Wyoming are investing in cryptocurrency specifically to diversify their portfolio and help them maintain a secure retirement, that they're able to lean upon these funds in order to provide for themselves in the future. And the ability to liquidate that into cash should not be restricted. However, we absolutely, as our role in government, we need to make sure that the balances are that we steer towards justice. And there is a responsibility of government to make sure that in any industry, including in the kiosk industry, that justice is enforced. And so I'm glad to be a sponsor of a co-sponsor of this bill, and I'd like to see it move forward. But I do think that there are opportunities to make it even better.
And let me ask that question a little bit. So this is one of those things that we're trying not to wade in with a heavy hand. At the same time, we're trying to get the rulemaking process started. So that's if the thing moves forward from the committee today, I think that's a conversation that we probably need to have to make sure that as we move to the floor, we improve where we need to improve. So that's one of the questions where there's probably numerous people that can help us do that better. So anyway, that's me thinking out loud. But anyway, your comments, and I really do appreciate what you said already. But please, anything else for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know you're strapped on time and I want to honor your agenda. My personal preference would be that we're able to take this business to the people's house, that we're able to advocate for them, but at the same time that we're able to make sure that we're also advocating for free market principles and the folks that are involved in the industry.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. Any questions for the representative? If not, we will see if there any other people anybody else to speak, public, whoever, on this topic. In that case, we will close public comment and committee, what's your pleasure on the bill? Bill has been moved and seconded, moved by Representative Campbell and seconded by Vice Chair Stivar. All right, committee, let's take a look at the bill. This does have a few pages. Let's we'll probably, I don't know if page one, we'll talk page one amendments that you're proposing.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I was reviewing that under the definitions and the amendments we received. I would like to have move that amendment and insert it where it's listed in under section page 2. Let's see.
And this is which amendment?
That would be the
Representative
amendment. It's
Higgins.
basically cleaning up the description of a virtual kiosk. Be page 1 of this definition.
I see. Amendment 1, as it's numbered on this page. Is that what you're looking at?
Yep.
Amendment 1? Okay.
Yep.
Sorry.
That's a subparagraph in
And-
section
Are
4.
you suggesting the whole thing or just?
No, I am suggesting the whole thing. And then, like I said, we could go to the next level and we can argue about it there.
Okay.
And, but this does make a good.
Did I hear a second down there? Representative Lucas has seconded it. Okay. Discussion on the amendment from the committee.
I think it's a good fit, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Lucas, please.
Just a comment. I have many years of banking experience and I've got a lot of experience in dealing with regulators and at the state and federal level. And it's always nice to let them it's nice to be able to self-regulate whenever we can because it is arduous dealing with a lot of governmental regulations that sometimes don't fit well. That said, in this instance, we are in a consumer protection mode. We are here to help prevent fraud. And to do that, we may need to put a couple of baseline amendments in place and then let the Banking Commission go on and do its thing and it'll do a fine job. But we are the consumer protection people right now.
Any other discussion on this amendment? Hearing none. We're ready to vote?
Yes.
All right. All in favor of the amendment, say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. That amendment has passed. Moving forward, so that was kind of on page 2, but any other amendments that from the committee on any of the pages, I'll just put it that way and we'll move ahead. Representative Ward.
Mr. Chairman, I would move amendment number 2 that adds a 24-hour waiting period and 48 for new customers. That is on page 3 is where it drops in.
Okay, Representative Worth has moved amendment 2 as shown here on this page, as is Representative Worth.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Representative Riggins has seconded that motion. Discussion on that amendment?
I just think it's a good safety net to throw out there to help slow things down, because that's really, from what I gather, that's the key element of this perpetuating this fraud is to do it rapidly. And I think if we slow that down, we can probably curtail a lot of it.
Other discussion, Representative Riggins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, these exact wait periods might not be ideal, but I think if we introduce them now and more knowledgeable people can bend our ear about them to see if they're satisfied with this type of thing. And this may be more suited to the rulemaking body, but I'd like to have that conversation later on in the chamber.
All right. Any other question? Seeing none, if we're ready to vote, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay. All right, that has passed. That amendment has passed. All right, any other amendments? We ready to? Anything? If hearing none, are we ready to vote on the bill?
Yes.
Question? Question? All right. Okay, let's go ahead and vote on the bill.
This is a roll call vote for House Bill 75 as amended. Representative Brown,
Aye.
Representative Campbell,
Aye.
Representative Lean,
Aye.
Representative Lucas, Representative Riggins,
Aye.
Representative Storer,
Excused.
Vice Chair Stivar,
Aye.
Representative Worf,
Aye.
Chairman Locke.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 8 ayes, 1 excused.
All right. Okay, so, House Bill 75 has passed and we're moving on to House Bill 41. Okay. Okay. Okay, fair enough.
We're gonna do it tonight after recess.
Let's do that. Yeah, I'm good. Okay. All right, welcome Representative Webb. Thank you so much for being here today and please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joe Webb from House District 19, here with House Bill 41, which is to extend the surviving spouse benefit to members of those that patrol our highways, investigate.
Representative Webb, 1 second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Webb, I wonder if you could just put the mic a little closer to your mouth. I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Probably have the paper in front of it. Sorry about that. I know how that feels.
Thank you,
sorry.
Representative Webb. We appreciate that.
Okay, so anyway, it's to extend the surviving spouse benefit in the case of an officer of the agency that patrols our highways or investigates major crimes or regulates wildlife in Wyoming. Should that officer be killed in the line of duty, it increases the retirement death benefit to the surviving spouse from 62.5% to 90%. The reason that we're asking for this is because 2 years ago, and we know what it's like in the hustle and bustle of a budget session. This was an overlook, is my opinion. There was a bill that was passed that applied to all other law enforcement officers in Wyoming, but this is a separate portion of the Wyoming retirement system, and this did not apply to them. Literally, basically, I should say, basically what we're doing is we're copying and pasting a paragraph that is already existing in Title IX, Chapter 3, Article 4 of the regular Wyoming Peace Officers Retirement to Title IX, Chapter 3, Article 6. And it just levels the playing field. And I would like to, others, if they're here, can testify to this. There is no significant fiscal or personnel impact to this bill. Talking with those that administer the retirement system,
It's going to be a minimal increase to plan liabilities and are likely within measurement error. In other words, it's not going to affect the stability at all. One thing I would like to ask is for the committee to consider making the effective date of this immediately, or like they did with the 2 years ago, I think they even backdated it back to February 1st or January 1st of that year. And so I would like to have that to be considered. With that, I will stand for questions.
All right, any questions for Representative Webb? Please. Representative Stibar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Webb. I recall that bill. But the thing is when they did that, they actually attached this to with Senate File 47, 48, and 49, I think it was. There was 3 separate bills out there that dealt with the retirement systems where they started taking more money, the contributions into the retirement system. Is this going to affect that their paychecks where they're going to have to pay more for the retirement system?
Representative Webb.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, Representative Stivar, my understanding is no. Maybe those from the retirement board would be better apt, but my understanding is no.
Thank you.
Other questions for Representative Worf?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Webb, maybe you can answer this question. I don't know if it's a fair question or not, but I had a constituent that brought up the officers that work at our port of entries. I don't know how often they are killed in the line of duty, but I know he mentioned that a lot of times we do things for all the other law enforcement guys. We forget about the guys working in the ports. And so I didn't know, do you know if they have this benefit or should they have it, is my question.
Representative Webb.
I would, Chairman Locke, Representative Worf, I would not be able to answer that question if they are covered under the patrol, warden, and DCI portion of the Wyoming retirement system, or under at all, or under the peace officer one. I wouldn't be able to answer that question for you.
Representative, any other questions for Representative Webb? Representative Riggins. Oh, did I cut you off? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Representative Webb. I was being the first time I've really looked at this or addressed this policy. I've seen the bill. So I guess I'm wondering, was that percentage at 65%? Is there a policy death benefit that's given to the heirs in such a case that's different from an ordinary death benefit?
Representative Webb.
Chairman Locke, Representative Riggins, my understanding this is for the surviving spouse.
Representative Riggins.
Yeah, and I address that because, for example, accidental, well, I don't know how they would characterize this, but normal insurance policy, accidental death benefit, double benefit, for example. So say it was 500,000, now it'd be $1 million lump sum payment. Lump sum payments that are not taxable, benefits like that. And I was wondering if that's why that number was probably lower than carrying on the long term down the road. I didn't know if there was if that played a factor in the role of setting that percentage amount, regardless of who the heir was or who the beneficiary was. Normally it would be the spouse. So that's why I'm asking if you happen to know what that number would be.
Representative Webb.
Chairman Locke, Representative Riggins, I couldn't tell you that for sure. I think it's just the number that they have come up with to keep things consistent between the retirement programs over the years.
Other questions? Representative Lean, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At the bottom of page 1, it says on or after July 1 of 26. I know that you asked for an effective immediately date. would we need to amend that to an earlier date, or just that this would go into effect and then take place anyone that was killed on or after July 1 of this year?
Representative Webb.
Chairman Locke, Representative Lean, I would just like to see this to become effective so that at least immediately, so that if an officer is killed, that the benefit could be paid to the surviving spouse. We're not having to wait until July 1 when we have that break in that, or that big waiting period. I just know this was what was done in with the previous bill, where it was set back. And it was set back even prior to when the officer was killed two years ago.
All right. Other questions? Representative Webb, thank you so much, and please don't run too far. And anyone else like to speak on this bill? Thank you for your service and thank you for being here, sir.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Committee members, good morning. I'll be very brief. Since 1933, the inception of the Highway Patrol here in Wyoming, we've lost 2 members.
Please introduce me with your name.
Sorry.
No worries. Thank you.
I'm trying to make up for that long discussion.
It's okay. I
Yeah.
probably feel like I'm rushing everybody and I'm apologize for that, but
Yeah. Colonel Tim Cameron, I'm the administrator of the Wyoming Highway Patrol. As I was saying, we've experienced 2 line of duty deaths in the history of the patrol. Patrolman Pete Visser, we were called patrolman back then. That was in 1981, and Patrolman Chris Logsden in 1998. The request, the bill before you, increases the death benefit to mirror the police retirement system. I approached Representative Webb about this ask during the interims and certainly appreciate him carrying the bill. This is of great comfort to our troopers, certain the DCI agents and the game and fish officers, to know that your spouse, and it does say spouse in the bill, would be protected after a line of duty death. And I'm glad to stand for any questions.
any questions for Patrolman Cameron? Hopefully that patrolman is acceptable. And is that
Yeah, at some point in time, they changed it to
Colonel?
trooper.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Maybe I should say Colonel. I apologize if I mischaracterized. I should. He gives me a hard time. I was Air Force. He's Army. He knows I was.
Understood. Thank you.
So I do apologize, Colonel. That's bad on me. So, but thank you for being here. And are there any questions for Colonel? Thank you so much for coming and thank you for bringing, oh, I'm sorry, Representative Wharf.
I just wondered if you knew about the officers that work in the port. Do they have any type of a death benefit that is afforded them? Are they under your policy or do you know where they are? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Representative Wharf, the port of entry personnel are not sworn. We call them officers, and certainly they have critically important duties. They are covered under the general state section, and they do have a death benefit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. Any other questions for Colonel Cameron? Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you being here just to take a few minutes and introduce yourself. And I apologize for my mistake. I literally couldn't see it till just right there, and it's my bad. But
Mr. Chair,
I'm blind,
Representative
but he'll
Simon
straighten
pointed
me out and keep me going. That's what he's here for, is to hit me with a hammer when I need to be. But anyway, thank you so much.
you.
Anyone else like to speak on this bill? All right. All right. In this case, we're going to close public comment unless I'm given one last public comment. Make sure. All right. And then no one's online. Very good. So we're going to close public comment. And committee, what's your pleasure on the bill? All right. It has been moved and seconded by half of the committee. So I'm not even sure who to give credit to or not. But let's, any amendments? Vice Chair Stivar, please.
on, what is it, page 1, line 15, effective immediately. Because we've got a July 1 date in there, 2026. Right after duty, effective immediately. And then, same thing on the back for section 3, the act, when it becomes signed, that it's, goes in effective immediately.
All right. So committee it's been seconded by Representative Lucas and LSO, you caught that, you know where we're at, and committee. So discussion on the amendment. Seeing none, let me just clarify, there's 2 places we've made effective immediately, page 1, line 15, page 2, line 10. Okay? So voting on the amendment, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the amendment has passed. Any discussion on the bill?
Move the bill. Question on the bill.
All right. Question, let's please take roll. Thank you.
This is a roll call vote for House Bill 41 as amended. Representative Brown,
Aye.
Representative Campbell,
Aye.
Representative Lean,
Aye.
Representative Lucas,
Aye.
Representative Riggins.
Aye.
Representative Storer,
Excused.
Vice Chair Stiver,
Aye.
Representative Wharf,
Aye.
Chairman Locke.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 8 ayes, 1 excused.
Very good. Okay, so I will apologize to some people in the room. I don't think we have time. We would probably barely get the discussion started on 101, and I have a feeling we would not have sufficient time really to give people their opportunity to speak. If the committee is okay with this, I would like to resume on adjournment of the floor. Is committee okay, adjourn, do it with that?
My bill, I agree.
Okay, okay. Representative Wharf.
Mr. Chairman, might I just suggest maybe ask if there's people that can't make that, if it would be more
That's
convenient?
great. Are there folks who are going to speak on that bill that cannot make it on adjournment? I'm sorry, that could be a little bit later this evening, but we'll try to at least give people the opportunity to speak on this bill. I didn't want to work it poorly. Is that okay, or do we have any major issues? Please feel free to come up and discuss with us very quickly if you'd like. Is there anyone online on this one, by the way?
Mr. Chairman, you do have an Emily Smith online who is going to testify on this bill.
What's that? Will you want to do that, committee?
I'd rather not. I'd rather follow the
Well, let's-
process because it's gonna mess things up.
Let-
If she speaks and then, you know.
Have opportunity.
Miss-
She will have opportunity. She can get back online. She's from Cheyenne here.
Miss,
She
can I
come in.
speak to Miss Smith real quickly?
Yes, sir. I will promote her real quick as a panelist so you guys can have a discussion with her.
Thank you. That'd be helpful. And are some of the folks in the back of the room, were you speaking on this bill? Are you okay with ad adjournment? Excellent. Thank you. And I am sorry to make that hard on you, but I appreciate your patience because I don't want it to be heard poorly. I think there's a conversation on this one we need to have. So thank you so much for working with us. And
Mr. Chairman, she is online.
Ms. Smith, thank you so much. And so we would like to work this well, and we will run out of time today. Would you be okay if we did this on adjournment this evening?
Mr. Chairman, I would. Would we be notified of the time of that meeting? So we
It's
could
a
join?
little tricky from the perspective, we don't know when we will adjourn on the floor.
Okay.
Do we have contact information for Ms. Smith, and can we notify her LSO team? Is that acceptable?
Mr. Chairman, if she wants to send the House Revenue Committee an email, I will get that in my inbox with her contact info and I can reach out to her once we have a better understanding of when it would be.
Excellent. Would that be okay, Ms.
That would be
Smith?
fine. Mr. Chairman, that would be fine.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your patience. And for those of you who I disrupted your morning, I do apologize, but thank you again for working with us. And I always worry about not working these bills properly, and that's why I didn't want to. It seems like we always get stressed as we get too close to session starting. So thank you so much. And we will, if you would do that, Ms. Smith, make sure you send an email to the right to our, to the revenue. What, does she know the address? Can you make sure she gets that, guys?
Jesse reminded me that through the Zoom registration, I should have contact information as well. But
Beautiful.
otherwise, it'd be
Okay.
house.revenue@wyoleg.gov.
We will do that because our team will keep a close eye on us. They'll help us stay on the straight and narrow. If it was up to me, we'd be in trouble, but we've got people better than me on that. Thank you so much. And
Thank you, Mr.
everybody
Chairman.
have a blessed day. I know those of you who may have traveled, thank you and be safe going home. And thanks for being here with us. And in that case, anything from the committee? In that case, we are adjourned and thank you all. Oh, we're on recess. Sorry, we are not adjourned. We are recessed. We are re-adjourned at whatever time. And now we'll beg for mercy from the Speaker of the House.